once again. So I want to continue with the points that were in the Netflix show, How to Become a Cult Leader. Is that what it was? Stupid show. But, I mean, a stupid title, but at the same time, as I've said many times before, the next level can make everything into a positive, because individuals have their mind, and there are souls that are back to take vehicles, and so those souls have some of the next level mind in them, and our genetic structure, our tree, has that mind in it too. It's interesting that, on a side note, that when I was listening to NPR broadcasts about evolution on Science Friday and other shows, Reveal maybe, and one of the things, the number of people said that were considered to be university professors in anthropology or archaeology or evolutionary, I forgot what you call it, evolutionary biology, or there's another name for it. Number of things that they have in common is that they consider the genetic structure the tree of life. Isn't that interesting how that term, tree of life, the first time I ever heard that term used was from Genesis, that there were two trees in the garden. One was the tree of life, and one was the tree of good and evil. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So the only tree of life is the next level's tree of life. So they've taken that and bastardized it so that the next level isn't part of it anymore. And because, and then use the terminology to make it look like, well, because that term, that phrase is meaningful. It's true. It's reality. So when they use that phrase, it's in the genetic history of probably most of the vehicles on this planet. So if they use that as pertaining to something above us, and of course the way that people that aren't religious think about something that's above us is either through, if they're advanced, then they think of it as a space alien generated everything, coming about. But even that is a bastardization, because it's not the space aliens that created this planet and the life forms on it. It's the space aliens that distorted the minds of this planet and the life forms on it, because the next level wanted to use this planet as an experiment for the development of souls that could graduate to become members of the evolutionary kingdom level above you. Many-membered physical kingdom level. Anyway, so I wanted to get into more of that. The leaders tell you what you want to hear. Well, I already went through that one. And they use sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Well, Kendo didn't use any of that. In fact, they were anti-sex, drugs, and rock and roll, except for pharmaceutical drugs that were necessary. I wanted to mention that too, because in a previous live stream I did, I think I might have left the impression that because of that Revelation 16:2 verse that talks about people in league with the beast, the governmental poisonous mammals, poison, not just governmental, but the poisonous mammals. Anybody that's teaching against the next level's reality is potentially poisonous to those that still have a chance to recognize the next level reality and purpose for this planet. That's how come the beast term. They even used it twice, the word beast in English, to represent two different words. Therion being the poisonous mammal, and what was the other one? I forgot it off the top of my head. I'm not going to spend time trying to remember it. But the other one is living being. And you can go through those verses and you can see that this is evidence of another form of how the distortions and the dilutions take place. But then the lower forces come in to that, to the fact that there's distortions and dilutions, and then they say that, oh well, if this is wrong, if this is contradictory, or if this is not true, then I guess you can't trust any of it. So throw out the baby with the bathwater, and so don't believe anything about it. That's what the lower forces want humans to think. And so they have people, when they see humans acting in bad ways, evil ways or abusive ways towards others, or judgmental ways against others, like a lot of the religionists do, then some people think, well, if they act that way and they believe in this body of information, and you see in that body of information there's all kinds of things in it that don't seem to be kind or gentle, or because there's lessons in there for different grades in school, then they say, well, then I guess the whole thing is worthless and they made it up and it's a big ploy to take people over, when they are also responding to the ploy to take people over. I mean, I'm not talking about just atheists. I'm talking about spiritualists, I'm talking about religionists. We're all subject to the various ploys to take over our minds and brainwash us with misinformation, disinformation, trying to change things ever so slightly, but looking the same thing that the CIA is known to do, that they take a bit of the truth and then they wrap it up in a bunch of lies, or a bunch of, that all look like they're equivalent facts or whatever, or questions, and then people are looking at it and they think, oh my gosh, what a mess. They didn't even think that. The people that, like even the UFO community, they're brainwashed as well, a lot of them. I'm not saying everybody, but we're all brainwashed to some degree, or we wouldn't, well, it doesn't mean that we wouldn't be here. We will still be here, brainwashed or not, because that's the program. The program was to institute brainwashing on the public so that the next level, when they came periodically with their members of the next level, and they took human vehicles, which is something that's very easy for them to do, and that vehicles that they even prepare for them, because their minds are so advanced, those vehicles need to have special preparation. Hence the virgin birth, so-called virgin birth, that Teendorf thought was a birth out of the womb, by the way, but that the next level had a hand in the conception. So however they did that, I don't know. But, because the next level could have had a laboratory right there on the ground, right where those people were living, and could have put a few of them to sleep, and actually did a physical operation on individuals like Mary, the one that was called Mary, to actually give her whatever it would take so that that vehicle that was going to be named Jesus would have a better connection with the next level than those primitive vehicles would be able to have otherwise. In order to advance the lesson, the believers, the overcomers, the true Israelites are, according to Doe, the overcomers, not the people that live in the Middle East in the state of Israel. That's the state of Israel. That's not the overcomers necessarily. There might be some overcomers associated with them, because overcoming is a development. It's a continuous process. There's lots of things to overcome, and there's lots of things that are equivalent to the things that we need to overcome, like our sense of self as being, ego is something that needs to be overcome, because that's to qualify in the training program. Because the Luciferians, they got big egos. They got huge egos. And so you see many humans that have big egos because of those space aliens having big egos. But the next level gives everybody opportunities to overcome that and everything else in the human kingdom. All the behaviors and ways of the human kingdom. And substitute the ways of the next level. So, where was I going on there? Let's see. Ooh, what's this around here? I never liked this spot here. Because they're doing construction, it's just weird. They don't have the road painted right, so when you're going 80 miles an hour, which I seem to this car can't go less than that. No, it can. But oh yeah, it's in the Netflix video that audio, whatever it was, the show, that Marshall Herb Applewhite grew up wanting to be like his father. I think Ben Zeller said that. Maybe not. Maybe somebody else. But how does he know he grew up to want to be like his father? And at what point did he not want to be like his father? Because he definitely didn't go down that path. He did go to seminary in the 60s. He told us about it in the classroom. And what he said about it was that when he went to seminary, he wanted to make available and study the materials that were available about Jesus and those times. And they wouldn't allow certain things to be studied. And as soon as that happened, he felt like he wasn't going to be happy in seminary. So that was him with whatever degree of that soul was with that vehicle at that time, because they were with those vehicles. They tagged those vehicles, is the terminology Doe used. They tagged those vehicles in the 20s and 30s, which is when their vehicles were born, 27 and 31. But we don't know that those vehicles couldn't have been tagged even before that, before they were born. Because we just don't know what the next level's technology is capable of. Imagine a lot, tremendous amount, beyond our belief, beyond our understanding, they're capable of. And we know that, when it was learned that he was attracted to the same gender as he had, even though he was married and had 2 children, I believe, that, that he probably wasn't, I don't know, whether his dad, who was a preacher, approved of that, or, was even tolerant of it, because of how they've been taught that Paul was such a big shot when he was not. They said that if you were effeminate, that you were a sinner, and that wasn't the design or whatever, but the vehicles, whatever direction they go, is part of the design to have the option to go in any direction that they go, whether the way they work or the way they play or who they love. It's all part of the kingdom, the human kingdom. And everything has lessons associated with it. So there is no, the next level doesn't judge people by the kind of vehicle they have, or the color of it, or the gender of it, or their sexuality, or their anything about them. So that's to me, it wasn't accurate to say that. Of course, it might have been taken out of context, because they take everything out of context almost in these shows, in many of these shows. And they took me out of context a number of times, even though some of what they put in there seemed okay to me. I don't think they made something look too far different than the context would have provided. And he didn't talk about Doe being homosexual. Why didn't they even bring that up? Maybe because, I could guess, okay, maybe they don't want to turn off Christians, but then they didn't talk about the 2 witnesses, but that would turn off Christians too. So maybe that was like a trick, in a sense, to get Christians to look for it. I'm not saying that the people that made the video, made the series, were tricking anybody, or consciously doing anything. No, what I'm thinking is that what's possible is that the Next Level had a hand in not putting certain things in there, so that more people might pay attention to the whole story, instead of, ruling it out right away from the beginning. I may be totally wrong about that. I'm not claiming to have that kind of an insight, but I do know that the Next Level does work with people that have a big media following, in order to help them when they're asking for help. And a lot of times they are asking for help, in the sense that they want to come up with ideas, and they want to know how to talk about certain things and how to make a good show. And sometimes they want to be somewhat fair to the story, even though I don't know if there's much of that in this Netflix show. But it doesn't matter, because those that have some mind from the Next Level are going to look for the answers, are going to look for the truth. They're going to investigate it for themselves. Anyway, began to experience disconcerting religious experiences. They said that Doe began to experience disconcerting religious experiences, hearing voices. That's been, I think, blown out of proportion, hearing voices. I don't know where they got that from. It might have been from those vehicles' sister, Louise. I'm not going to say her last name, because I don't really want anybody to find fault with her. But she just didn't know a lot of things, really. Of course, the media goes to everybody to get what they want to get, and then they can use, and they pick and choose what they want to use. And of course, and then, you know, anything they can say to justify their scenario is what they're going to use. Unless the next level, you know, gives them some ideas that they think, oh, well, that's a good idea too, I guess. Like when they used me to talk about the spacecraft being right, could be right among us, physically. You know, they might have thought that made me look totally wacko, when the reality of it is, to some people, they're going to look at hear that and they're going to think, really, yeah, that makes sense to me, that's possible, because they've got some of that mind in them that is willing, has an open mind to some of that, because the soul that is associated with their vehicle knows that that's a fact, because of their previous relationship with members of the next level that gave them some of that understanding to whatever degree that they gave it. Like when Jesus left, he said, you know, don't be so surprised that, you know, that he ascended with his physical body into the cloud of light and then disappeared out of your sight. This is the way they always come and go. What, through a cloud? Well, you know, the word cloud in the Hebrew meant covering. It's a covering of what's really behind that cloud. I mean, the way it's used many times in the Old Testament. I forgot the Hebrew word for well, I got off the exit. Okay, so I mean, Janet Lalich, I believe she said that, referring to T, if I remember correctly out in my notes, said that T was a die-hard New Ager when she meant Doe. Now, what does that mean, a die-hard New Ager? You know, I mean, see, now that's something to put in there to get Christians to look at it and think, oh, well, that can't possibly be the return of the Father, you know, and or Jesus, the second coming, because the New Age Christians have made into evil. Astrologer was made into evil. See, that was also something that Paul had something to do with, I believe, because they used the word sorcerer and they tied it to astrology. When it was astrologers that knew that the baby was coming and was following the stars, you know, some spacecraft perhaps, or a comet or something. You know, so everybody has been subject to huge illusion, which just so happens to be that term used in the Hindu as Maya, M-A-Y-A, I think is the way it's spelled, and which that's no reflection on somebody with that name, by the way. But I just want to, you know, maybe I'm not even pronouncing it and spelling it right, but because that could be a positive or a negative. It's like you could see the illusion. You could have a sense of how much illusion there is. If you happen to have that name. And you know, for that reason, you might not feel like you fit into a lot of things because you see the illusion. In that sense, I could have been named with that name because growing up, I didn't feel like I fit in with anything. And I didn't believe them when they told me things. I didn't even believe my parents when they told me things. I questioned things that I really had no basis to question. But sometimes I found out that I did have a basis of questioning it. Anyway, so I'm at my location. I don't know if there's any I wish I knew how to show the comments. I gotta figure that out one of these days. I mean, I can do that. Oh, okay. Live chat. Oh, maybe what I need to do is, gosh, I almost ran that guy over. No, not really. I always go to the other entrance. Oh my gosh. I almost ran out of gas. Can't believe it. Well, the light didn't come on yet, so I guess I have enough to get to the next gas station. Jeez. I mean, I was planning on getting gas the whole day. Wow. I'm lucky I didn't just run out of gas. Fortunately, I'm only about a mile away from the gas station, and I probably have enough gas to get about 30 miles. All right, folks, I gotta go. I'm just gonna continue to do these little short ones, addressing each of the issues until I get to all 60 points that I brought up. I know that makes it hard to hear them all unless you can tune into these, but they're short nowadays, so at least you won't have to sort through a whole bunch of different things if you want to follow it until I actually write up a critique on it. Good night.